Welcome to the first grammar lesson of 4 for this English 101 class. This first session is on fragments and run-on sentences. This is a fairly brief PowerPoint video, and it assumes that you have already read the PDF on sentence fragments and run-on sentences that you can find on Canvas. If you haven't done that yet, you should pause this and go read through that. So, before we can actually talk about what makes a sentence fragment or a run-on sentence, we need to talk about what makes a sentence. Most of you probably already know this. A sentence is an independent clause made up of a subject and a predicate verb. So in the sentence, the wind blows, the wind is the subject and blows is the predicate verb. Because the subject is a thing that is doing something and the verb is the thing that is being done. So if a phrase lacks a predicate verb, the wind blowing, or a subject, and blows, we have a sentence fragment. If a phrase, however, contains two independent clauses, the man is eating breakfast, he is eating cereal, it's a run-on sentence. And both of these are things you want to avoid doing in academic writing. Now, most people recognize simple sentence fragments. You would probably all know that the following examples that you see right here are sentence fragments. The blue dog, running on the beach, taking a shower, has hurt profits. None of these are sentences. The blue dog lacks a verb. Running on the beach lacks both, actually, a subject and a verb. Taking a shower, same thing, has hurt profits, lacks the subject. But these things are also fragments that I see in student writing frequently. The first vaccine to be used widely. That doesn't have a verb. The first vaccine is not actually doing anything. It's being described there. When you are riding a bus, also lacks a verb. Well, what about when you're riding a bus? Although I agree to a certain extent. Plus what? Well, that's out in a second. Because he is angry at his sister. Also not a complete sentence. The reason for this, and we've looked, if you've read the PDF, you'll find a lot of examples of different kinds of sentences that are not actually sentences. But what I want to look at specifically in this video is draw your attention to creating what are called subordinate clauses. This means that this is a phrase that can't exist on its own. And they start with a subordinated conjunction or a relative pronoun. And this is a long list of them. So, you should be very careful whenever you start a sentence as one of these words. Because usually you need another phrase to finish the sentence. For example, this is a sentence fragment. Although the director of the film is well known. Think of these phrases in this capacity. They're waiting for the other half of the idea. They need something else. Words like although and because imply that there's something else. So, for example, with although, the implication is that there is a however, or a but, or a yet. Some alternative that goes with what's being said. Although the director of the film is well known, it has been a disappointment at the box office. So when you're writing sentences, you want to really identify for yourself the subject and the verb and make sure that you have both. There's lots of examples, like I said here in the reading. So you want to pay attention to those, because these sorts of sentences I see all the time. On the other side of the coin, we have run-on sentences. And there are really two main types of these sentences. There's what are called comma splices and fused sentences. When we have a comma splice, we've got two main ideas, two independent clauses separated only by a comma. I went to the store, comma, I bought chips, salsa, and beer. A fused sentence just jams the two together with no punctuation. I went to the store, I bought chips, salsa, and beer. Both of these are grammatically incorrect, and they don't look professional. That's the problem. You lose credibility as a professional, believable writer when you have these. So there's a couple ways to fix these. One is to use a coordinating conjunction and a comma. Coordinating conjunctions can be remembered by using the acronym FANBOYS, because there's 7 coordinating conjunctions. Those are for, and, nor, but, or, yet. So, you could also use a semicolon, but only if you know how to use one properly. There is a later lesson that will be all about semicolon use. Or, the easiest way to fix these is to just make 2 different sentences. Comma splices are the more frequent, because people think commas are good enough to connect independent ideas. So, this is an example out of the book. Some laboratory-grown foods taste good. They are nutritious. These are 2 distinct independent ideas. Notice that they could each be on their own. Some laboratory-grown foods taste good. That's a complete idea. they are nutritious. That's also a complete idea. So a comma is not a strong enough piece of punctuation to connect the two. That's a run-on sentence. So you can, one, make it two sentences. Some laboratory-grown foods taste good, period. They are nutritious, period. Or you can insert a coordinating conjunction. Some laboratory-grown foods taste good, and they are nutritious. But they are nutritious. Any coordinating conjunction will really work there. Well, not any, but several different choices. It doesn't have to just be the word and. So that's really all you need to know about doing this. So what you want to do is make sure, let me go back here, that you are noticing these sentences, these subordinate clause sentences, because I see a lot of this in student writing. So I would write down this list. It's also on page, let me find it, 282 of your PDF. And anytime you start a sentence with one of these words, you need to check, does this actually look like it's a full sentence? Because a lot of times, it's not. You also need to be aware of these comma splices. Whenever you have a long sentence that's got a comma in there somewhere, oftentimes that's a run-on sentence. So you need to make sure that you're clarifying those. Okay? So, what you should now do is go back onto Canvas and take a look at the exercise that I've asked you to do, and the quiz will cover just these things. Remember, though, that as you progress to the next grammar lesson, it will include not only the new material, but it will have some questions related to this material as well. Okay? If you have questions, you can certainly ask them in class.